Well, hello, my paranormal peeps. This is Matt Harvey. I am your host of the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. I'm also the lead investigator and founder of Deep Woods Paranormal. Um, Along with my wife, Amanda, we research anything and everything paranormal. And by paranormal, I mean ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptid creatures, and anything else that's unexplained, river monsters, stuff like that. So, if it's paranormal in nature, we investigate it. We deal with demons and all that other stuff. We also help people in their homes. We do not charge for our services. Um, People, if you want to make a donation, here, let me share my screen with you guys real quick. Let me go here. If you guys want to make a donation to our channel or help us out, we appreciate it. You can buy us a coffee. The link's down below. If you're listening to this podcast, it's in the description. If you're on our YouTube channel, it's also in the description. You can come on here and buy us a coffee. I'm not going to go into this anymore because I've been beating this to death. All right. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to talk about some other things. This is the Bigfoot Only podcast. As you can see, it says Bigfoot Only podcast on the back. So we are going to be going full bore here into trying to do some Bigfoot research in the next 3 to 4 months, maybe 5, 6 months. Because as the year goes on, I think we get closer to their mating season, and people can attest to this all over. They seem to get more active as they get closer to mating season. I think they become more territorial, they become more aggressive, and people who live in Bigfoot territory, they get rocks and stuff thrown at their homes. They hear the screams in the house, they hear the whoops, and they hear everything else, the tree knocks and everything else that possibly Bigfoot does. And I say possibly. You got to take all this with a grain of salt. Like I always say, I never expect anyone to believe. You have to have your own experience, whether it's Bigfoot or anything else paranormal, that you can say couldn't be anything else but. And like I said, you can put your own thing in there, ghost, UFO, whatever. You know, I was talking to a guy the other day. He's a hunter. He's like, why aren't more people catching these things on trap cams? And I believe, and again, this is just my belief, my theories, is that Bigfoots can not only hear the noises that the trail cams make, they might also be able to see the IR lights. And so I believe that sometimes they'll stumble into an area and get caught. I also believe that about 90% of people do not share their trap cams pictures or videos with anybody, especially if it's Bigfoot related. Again, it saddens me to say they are afraid of ridicule. They're afraid somebody's going to say, "Oh, well, you Photoshop that," or that isn't real, or whatever. I mean, it's sad, but as this community continues to grow and more people kind of get out looking for these things, and we start to get more and more results. Hopefully we'll come to a point where people will say, okay, yeah, maybe there is the possibility that it's real. And I know, people say, oh, we'll provide a body. Well, that's easier said than done. Number one, you have to be in the right place at the right time with the right gear to possibly shoot one. Number two, you have to be able to shoot it. Morals. I mean, a lot of hunters that I've talked to have said I've seen them. I looked through it through my scope, and it just looks so human. I just couldn't pull the trigger. If I'm out hunting for deer or whatever, which I'm possibly going to be doing this year or next year, could I pull the trigger? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Would I pull the trigger? Again, I'd be very hesitant. I'd rather get it on camera than shoot it, because once you do that and it goes down, number one, if there's probably going to be other Bigfoots in the area, they're going to see that, and then they'll just move out of that territory completely, and you'll completely ruin a Bigfoot habitat. And again, take all this with a grain of salt. This is just my theories. I would rather dart one, get a dart in one, put it down, get it to sleep, and be able to collect hair samples, skin samples, blood samples, tissue samples, maybe, if you can without hurting it. Put a tracker in it, because how many scientists have you seen on TV or whatever where they basically are carrying around that metal looking hanger looking thing, and you hear them with the headphones on, you hear them beep beep beep, and they can track that animal. They can figure out where they've been, they can figure out where they're going. And again, Bigfoots, I believe, live in groups, and some don't. I mean, some possibly live by themselves or whatever, but they do seek mates. So if you can get a younger, maybe a juvenile, you can track their movements, and you can get a whole lot more data on them, and essentially figure out, maybe start to figure out what their lifestyles are like and what they do and how they do it. And I just think it would be so much more beneficial. Number two, the problem with shooting one is the GOV. Seems like every time I've heard of somebody doing something like that, killing one, within minutes, hours, whatever, they show up and then threaten people. And again, this is just theory. It's just from what I've heard people say. You might work for the government and just be rolling your eyes and go, we don't do that. I don't know. I can't say for sure yes or no, but it makes sense. Maybe they're also studying Bigfoots. Look at all the UFO crap coming out. Oh, UFOs aren't real. Now they're showing, releasing all this evidence of things that they can't explain and stuff that stumps them. So who's to say that Bigfoot isn't real? Who's to say the GOV is not tracking them and keeping an eye on them, and maybe even studying them, or maybe even capturing them and taking them and doing their own studies on them. So anyways, gone down that rabbit hole far enough. Okay, so this is the 2022 Bigfoot review video. This is part two. Part one, if you want to listen to that, I was talking about ghost hunting, and I talked a little bit about UFOs and a couple of things that I had. But last year we went to a lot of cool places. Let me kind of backtrack here. This year, like I said, we plan on spending 6 months, the first 6 months of the year, trying to get after these things. We're going to be doing events, of course. I'm working on setting up locations where I could take people out into the field and let them do their own Bigfoot research with me, or try and come out and experience something. But I have to work on those locations, making sure if I need a permit, I got to get permits for that. The camping situation, because we're probably going to spend a weekend out in the woods, and other things. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And Amanda and I've kind of been talking about that. How much is it going to cost? What do I need to ask everybody to contribute to basically do this? We don't want to make a lot of money off this, but we want to make sure we're covering our expenses and making sure that we're putting that back into the business so we can continue to buy new gear and upgrade our gear and stuff like that. Speaking of new gear, so I talked about this little drone the other day. Of course, you can't see it. Oh, why does that do that? Okay, there it is. All right. So this is our new little drone. This little guy folds out like this. Oh, geez. Once it's in here, it doesn't want to open. Okay. All right. So this is our new little drone. This is called an Ascend. I don't know the model name. It keeps disappearing into here. Let me move that. Let's see if I can get this to show up. Okay, so this is the Ascend. It's small. I'll do a gear review on this. I just wanted to show you guys this. So this is our newest drone. We have three, and I'm going to be doing some gear testing on this. We're going to be doing a lot of gear reviews this year uh, on our channels. If you don't know, we also have the survival channel where I basically go over tips and tricks of survival. I talk about different survival scenarios um, and emergency situations, pretty much, and stuff like that. So that'll be coming out later this year. That podcast, if you listen to that podcast as well, was kind of put on hold because I was drawing some attention I didn't really want to draw. And yeah, now that the Deepwood Survival Facebook page is just blowing up. We're getting more and more friend requests. We're gonna have to do a lot of work into that too. The production part of this, the Deepwoods Productions, that's doing really well. We're like I said, we're gonna be setting up events and stuff like that. I'm hoping because we're a business that'll be able to allow us to get into more places and be able to do more. We have to get business insurance and all the fun stuff that go with that. But all right, you aren't here to listen to me jaw about all that. This is just future plans. So we're looking at maybe doing 2 or 3 events where we, like I said, we invite people to go out and camp, and we'll basically be maybe either renting a campground or renting a couple spaces for people to stay, and then going out into different places during the day and night and trying to communicate with whatever, not communicate, uh, listen for Bigfoot type things. Maybe going exploring during the day, looking for footprints, hair samples, stuff like that. Going into places where we've had Bigfoot encounters before. I would really like to get Joe on board. I haven't even discussed this with him. Joe, if you're listening, I'll probably be contacting you in the next couple of weeks. And so what I'm hoping to do is get out to his property. If you don't know about Joe's, go watch Joe's Camp on our YouTube channel. Lots of possible Bigfoot activity. Caught one on trail cam and stuff like that. So his property is amazing. And I'll start out with Joe's Camp. First off, let me share my screen again with you guys. What I want to do, let's see, here it is. All right, so I talked about buying us a coffee. That's basically a way to donate to us, so you don't have to donate a lot. It's $3 a cup. Basically, that's what it costs for a cup of coffee, and it just basically our goal is I think $2,000. So far, we've had a few people donate, which we are very grateful for. Thank you guys so much. We're going to be basically using this to buy new upgraded gear for our Bigfoot research and other paranormal research. Okay, so this is our website. If you want to come on here, everything's here. You can message us down here, whatever. Our public ghost hunts, I've already gone into this, so I'll just show you this briefly. The Normandian will be on here soon. I'm not going to keep going with this. I want to move on to the next thing. All right, so let's get back into Bigfooting. So our future plans are to, like I said, do expeditions in as many places as possible. You can kind of see this is my map of possible Bigfoot sightings. I have a friend that lives in Idaho, so I'm trying to help him do his own research. And then, of course, there's very few pins for Washington, Oregon, California. I used to have pins up and down the coast here, into Nevada, into Arizona. I don't know if I had anything in Utah. I probably did. New Mexico, I don't know about that either. But basically, I try and pin any credible report I hear on the map as close as I can to where the sighting was. Because in the future, we're hoping to travel and be able to go out to these locations and do our own research and see if we can experience anything or maybe document something. So again, this side of these pens are not, I don't have very many, unfortunately. And in some of these pens, there's multiple sightings in these areas. All right. So in Texas here, not all of these are Bigfoot sightings. Let me come down here. We're down here in the Bryan area. If I could find us, we're not over there. Oh, sheesh. Where is College Station? Where are you, College Station? Wow, this map is hard to see. Okay. So essentially, I'm on Google Earth. If you're listening to this, I'm on Google Earth. We're somewhere in between here. Whoa, let me see something. What? That's not Bryan, Texas. Let me see something here. Where did it take me? Okay, I see where we are. Okay, now I found us. All right, so we're here in the Bryan College Station area. We live really close to downtown Bryan. If you're listening locally, we are going to be trying to get in to do some First Friday events where we set up a table and booth, and we basically allow you, have you guys come by and meet us, and we'll do a meet and greet with you. And we always love to meet our fans. So that will be coming in the future. Okay, so let's get back into this. All right. So you can kind of see this whole side of Texas, basically, and into Louisiana, have a lot of reports. Now, you're going to laugh, but down here in South Texas, too, they're more spread out and there aren't as many, but there are more Bigfoot reports. And there's still, some of them are, current. People are having experiences. I have a friend that lives down towards Corpus Christi, and I can't say it was a Bigfoot encounter, but he had some strange things happen while he was out hunting. He saw some strange things. He's a police officer. He's as legit as you get. If I had to hit anybody, any kind of witness, I would take a police officer's statement very seriously. Let's just put it that way. I take everybody's stuff very seriously, but I mean, especially them. I mean, they're very credible. They're not going to sit there and hopefully not make up a bunch of stuff because they don't want to lose credibility. Anyways, so you can kind of see all of Texas has sporadic Bigfoot reports. What I found recently is that San Antonio has pockets of Bigfoot sightings too, which is interesting. I would like to take some time and cruise down to San Antonio, not only because I have a new friend down there and I'd like to hang out with him and have him show me, but there's, like you can see, this cluster. This is New Braunfels, and bear with me if I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but there's a Canyon Lake here, which would be very interesting, and it's just all surrounded by forest. The further east you get in Texas, the more forested it gets. If you cut the state in half, the right half, if you're looking straight down on it, is way more forested, a lot more thickets and stuff like that. When you go to the left side, as you get to the left side of Texas, it becomes a little less forested, but there's a lot of trees still. And then it basically, as you go west, it becomes more deserty. So, anyways, future plans: get down to San Antonio and check out some of those reports. Some of these pens are not Bigfoot related. Most of them are. All right. So, again, this is a review of last year. So I'm sorry for drawing on about other things. So let's get into this. Believe it or not, Houston, the east side and north side of Houston, has a lot of reports of Bigfoots. Now, not downtown Houston. If you've never been to Houston, it's massive. It's just a big area of, basically roads and people and stuff like that. So I'm not talking about basically in Texas. I'm sorry, in Houston. I'm talking about outside of Houston, outskirts, because there's still a lot of wooded areas on the outskirts of Texas. Now, I mean, look at all these clusters. I mean, you can just go through. This is getting into the Sam Houston National Forest, and there's just clusters of them. Now, Amanda and I spent some time in the Sam Houston National Forest. What I like to do is I like to go out and drive around and go down some of those dirt roads, and just see if we see any signs of Bigfoots. As I usually have ask Amanda to drive. And as she's driving, we're just, we're only going like 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, if that. Sometimes we go 2 or 3 miles an hour down those roads because we start seeing trees bent over, trees snapped off. We might think we see a Bigfoot and stuff like that. So we stop. I get out. I go run over to wherever I think I see the Bigfoot or where I see activity. Sometimes I'll use my cell phone to record, but most of the time I have a GoPro in my hand or whatever. If it's at night, we have night vision technology. We have tons of night vision gear, binoculars that now record. Unfortunately, they don't record audio, but they record video and it's clear. It's like military grade. So, anyways, the Sam Houston National Forest last year, we had a lot of activity. We went to a lot of places down there. We explored, I can't even tell you how many places we explored, but basically, we went to the a cemetery down there. I don't want to give the name out because I don't want anybody red flagging me. And in case I pop up there again, have the police sitting there waiting for me. Hey, yeah, you're trespassing. Let's put the silver bracelets on you and take you in. I don't want that, or be told, you can't come in here. So, most of the time I try and get permission. If I don't know any better, I don't know it's private property or whatever, I never trespass on purpose. But every once in a while, you're out in the wilderness, you walk into something that you don't know is, whatever. I'm not going to get into that anymore. I'm going to incriminate myself. So, all right. Anyways, so there's a cemetery down there, and you can go back and watch the video on our YouTube channel. And I walked around because I had heard there were some reports in that area. I talked to a lady that actually had an encounter with a Bigfoot. They saw it in the back of the cemetery. So, and it was probably about the report was years old. So by the time I got down there, in between talking to her and then having COVID and everything hit, we had about a 2 or 3 year expanse. Unfortunately, we were making plans to go all over Texas, and then COVID hit and everything kind of changed, if you will, including our monetary situation. We're doing great now, but we just had some downturn because of COVID and all the crap going on. Anyways, I'm rambling. So, Kelly's Pond. We went and checked this out last year. You can watch that video. We kind of walked around looking for any signs of Bigfoot because people say they see Bigfoot at Kelly's Pond all the time. They hear screams and howls, tree knocks, and all this other stuff. This is a supposed hot spot for Bigfoot. I think in the future we might have to go down there and camp in there, and then just see if we experience anything at all. So that might be a future location that we go to. Little Lake Creek. Let me just see if any of these other ones kind of. Baker Bridge. Lake Conroe. Coming across this bridge over here, actually up here, up in the thickets. I thought I saw something on this side of the bridge. There was a lot of trees damaged, bent over, snapped off. And unfortunately, because of oncoming traffic, we couldn't stop and pull over at that point in time. And we had to get going anyways. We weren't actually out Bigfooting, but we did see some activity in this area. I'd like to find out how you could camp over in this area. This area is pretty much barren. It's just whole thicket, a whole big chunk of land where there isn't anything. And it says Eastside Trailhead up here. I would be interested to go up there and maybe try and hike down here towards the water, or pull over next to the where you can fish and maybe hike up into the wilderness there and just see if I can track all the Bigfoot activity. But Lake Conroe is a hot spot, especially the north side of it. And supposedly there's Bigfoot activity all throughout this whole area. Like I said, Amanda and I drove through big chunks of it. We haven't explored the whole thing, but we definitely, spent a lot of time in the Sam Houston National Forest. We really enjoyed it. And we had, God, that one time where we pulled off on that logging road, we had no clue where we were. And we're like, oh crap, I think we're a little bit lost. And both of us looked at our cell phones. Okay, no cell phone service. And you can watch this on the video. I think I put it in the video, but I looked over and there was an old hiking trail that had been overgrown. But as I kind of walked up to it, up the side of the hill there, and looked down there, there was tree bends everywhere, like trees being bent over both ways. So it wasn't probably the wind that did it, because these were small trees. They were 4, 5, 6 feet tall, pine trees mainly, that were just completely bent over. So yeah, this is an area where we spent a lot of time. Had a lot of good times here. We've tried to document everything we do. And so basically you can go through here and watch all of our videos from the Sam Houston National Forest from last year. I think we had 3 or 4. And then, so the Sam Houston National Forest, there's 2 big chunks. Now, I also met with David, and if you remember the hair samples, I still have to do a video on the hair samples. Inside of here, I don't want to put my hand in here, there is there's a big cluster of hairs mixed with branches and stuff like that. We found this, David and I found this, it had to be 12 feet up in the air. So I don't know, again, you got to take all this with a grain of salt. I don't know if a Bigfoot maybe walked under there and got some hair caught, maybe some head hair caught, or maybe it reached up to grab something, got some arm hair caught up there. I don't know. And I can't even say it's Bigfoot related. What I'm going to do is, I have those little test tubes. I'm going to be putting those samples, as many of those little samples in there as I can. I'm going to be having to be like surgical. I'm going to have to very careful. I have to mask up, and then basically glove up, and essentially very carefully try and pull with a pair of tweezers, pull the hairs out of the mat that it's in, the other stuff, and try and very carefully put it inside those tubes. I might have to have Amanda's help with that. And then what I want to do is I want to send it out to maybe different labs to see if they can test them and see if they come back unidentified, or maybe they come back something else. Maybe, some hair, an animal just walked by, maybe a horse or something like that, whipped its tail, and then basically some hair came off and flew up into the tree. I don't know. Again, we try and take as realistic of an approach as we can. I can't say it enough. You have to have your own encounter where you can say it couldn't be anything else but. I've had about 40 or 50 of those. So, I've looked for other explanations, and I can't find any at this point. Now, some of this stuff, like the screams and stuff like that, the howls that we've heard, friends of ours have, they're hunters or that live out in the wilderness, have told us, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. That bird that followed us from point A to point B to point C, that essentially we found out that that's just a bird. I thought it was, the way it was being mimicked, I thought that basically it was just something else, basically mimicking a bird. but it was just strange how it followed us. And that type of bird actually follows people for some reason, especially at night. All right, so let's keep going here. So this is a Big Thicket National Preserve. I think I think I came over here and did some research. Don't think I did very much videos, but I was just looking to see, because of the cluster here, um, if there was actually anything to it. I wanted to make sure that this area, it's off the Kirby National Trail. People have had encounters over in the Big Thicket National Preserve. I wanted to make sure that things were real, and we had some experiences. So, anyways, that's another place that we went and spent some time. Let's see, the Davy Crockett National Forest. We don't have any videos for here. Amanda and I basically, like I said, what we do is we go into these locations. We might go to a campground or whatever, maybe talk to people and see what they've experienced, and then basically try and go out to where they had their experience and see if we can experience anything. We can document anything. But essentially, the Davy Crockett National Forest, we haven't spent a lot of time in. We've come by here when we go to Joe's out in East Texas, but we haven't spent a lot of time here yet. That's another location I'd like to go to, is the Davy Crockett National Forest, just because I think that it would be good. If you're watching this, I'm sorry if I'm driving you nuts. The Sabine National Forest. We've spent a lot of time over here. This is where Joe's camp is. He lives in the middle of the Sabine National Forest. And he has, if you haven't heard me talk about Joe's camp before, you're new to this. Again, welcome and thank you so much for listening to us. So the Sabine National Forest is just thick with different Bigfoot reports. We met David, another David, over here, and he lives across the road from the basically from the forest, and he took us out to different parts of the forest as well. And we were driving along, and he was explaining where he's had his sightings, like full on sightings. He's seen them out hunting, herding deer and stuff like that. He's also had an encounter where he has seen like the dominant male, and he said they're big. People say Bigfoot only get up to 8 to 10 feet. No, they get a lot bigger than that, double that. I would say 16 to 20 feet, some of them. And I don't think all of them do. I think there's a certain breeds, like the black ones seem to be the biggest. They seem to be the biggest, the tallest, not the most bulky, but the biggest and tallest. The brown ones seem to be a little bit shorter and a lot more stocky, a lot more barrel chested, and just all out. They look like bouncers. That's why I call them the bouncers. The tan ones seem to be tan or blondish colored hair. They tend to be tall and lanky, more like a chimpanzee or something like that. I've not seen a red Bigfoot, but who's to say they aren't there? And then lastly, there's the brown ones, supposedly. The brown ones and the black ones are really close. I would say it's kind of a mixture between tall and bulky. And then there's supposedly, I follow somebody on YouTube, and he's documented like 14 different types of Bigfoots, and that goes some they call it Littlefoot. There's all different types. If you think about them more as a community, like if you look through the US, we're like a mixing pot of every culture out there. And I'm not going to get into that. But imagine a Bigfoot community too. I mean, imagine if there's different breeds of Bigfoot, maybe the black ones, the brown ones, the tan ones, or blonde ones. And then the black ones are all kind of mixing together. Maybe they're seeking each other out and mating and creating, new breeds of Bigfoots. There's been what they call the Littlefoot that's only about 2 feet tall, all the way up to like the dominant males, and the dominant males are just massive. I measured one out at Joe's camp at what we believe is 18 feet tall, and that one supposedly has a 22 to 24-inch footprint. So, I mean, I put my foot next to it. I've got a size 13 wide. Some of the tracks we found on Joe's camp, and I look like a little kid's foot next to it. It's just, I mean, I would not want to meet that thing in a dark alley. Let's put it that way. I don't think it would probably hurt me, but if I got close enough, it may do something that I don't like. More than likely, I would try and scare the living bejesus out of me, which, just seeing something that large probably would scare the bejesus out of me. Okay. So, yeah, the Sabine National Forest. Let's talk about Joe's camp for a minute. If you don't know about Joe's camp, let me start from the beginning, and I'll go through this briefly. We first started working with him almost 3 years ago now, and went up there, and he described all these different reports. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So let me come up and check it out. And it just, we had every time I've been up there, let's put it this way, I've had some kind of Bigfoot encounter, whether I've heard tree knocks, or I've heard whoops, or I've heard screams, or I've possibly seen something. Every time I go out to his camp, I encounter something possibly Bigfoot related. And I say possibly, because there's no proof of these things yet. Or if there is, they just won't let it come out, if you will. But Joe's camp is probably my favorite location ever. I mean, it's a very special place. He has 55 acres. It's about the size and width of a football field is his property. His family property all next to it, and then all through that area. I don't know how many acres they have, but it's a lot. And they've owned these properties since before the Civil War. Unfortunately, some of it's been sold off and stuff like that, and whatever. But his property, there's telephone poles that basically come right, through the back side of his property. If you're looking at his property like a football field, imagine the other end zone. If you're standing in one end zone, the far end zone, or the far left corner of his property, just imagine like a rectangle. In the top corner, he has a cemetery, of course, a family cemetery, and then of course next to that there is the telephone poles that come through. And that area of his property is creepy as hell. I've been up there where I basically had my Bronco in between me and the trees behind me because I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like I might get attacked if I was on the other side of that. And that's up towards the cemetery. And essentially I could hear things moving around in there. And the hairs were up on the back of my neck, and I just felt like I needed to get out of there. So I essentially, they felt like I wasn't welcome there. They didn't want me there. Maybe they were coming in to start hunting, or maybe they were going to cross across that road over there. The left side of his property, there's an actual old logging road that goes up into the forest. And there's a thicket up above where the cemetery is, and it's like acres and acres and acres of land that's not been touched for hundreds of years. And it's, there's trails that lead up there, and they're not like little trails, they're big trails. And so essentially last year, I got to get into this because I'm just jawing on. You guys can go watch I think I have 2 videos on Joe's camp. I mean, you can see all the stuff that I saw, and it's just amazing. But anyways, I went and spent the weekend at his camp. I actually camped on his property, which honestly I was very uncomfortable doing. I just didn't know what was going to happen. I had heard reports of people having like their tents pushed in and growling and all this other stuff. And I was basically up there by myself. Joe was down the way in his camp. Um, so I was about 30, 40 feet away from him. If something had happened, I was not armed at that point in time. And, you know, these Bigfoots, they've come down within 10, 15 feet of us at night. And you can see it on the first Joe's Camp videos. They would come right down to us, and they would come check out what we were doing and be very curious. I did a tree knock, and on one of the videos you can see to the left of me, only about 8 or 10 feet away, these eyes just open up. I didn't know that whatever it was that close at that point in time. You know, I can't say for sure it was a Bigfoot, but it was definitely interesting. Like something was just like, oh, hello. Anyways, so I camped on his property, and I essentially, as I was camping, I set up a bonfire. I set up a lot of gifts. I put out corn for the deer, of course, but supposedly Bigfoots will come in and eat the kernels as well. David told me they have a really bad sweet tooth, and I believe I believe that Joe's camp might be a pupping ground where they basically come in and they, after they've mated and the babies are big enough to kind of be on their own a little bit, they basically leave them in that area, and they're very inquisitive. I had a daytime sighting after I set up my tent. I kind of went up looking for prints and hairs and whatever else, hair samples. And he has 3 freshwater creeks on his property where the water comes up, springs that come up out of the ground, and that water is crystal clear. Now, I would not recommend maybe drinking it directly, but you could if you had to. I mean, it's just crystal clear. It comes up filtered through the ground and stuff like that. His land, it's very sandy. It's sandy, and because of all the trees, there's just it feels like you're walking on a sponge when you're up there in some places. Just because all the foliage and everything, the tree branches and the tree leaves and stuff like that fall on the ground, and over the years it just basically compacts, and it basically creates its own fertilizer for itself, just decomposing stuff. So as I'm basically walking up towards the back of his property, towards the cemetery, I look over to one of the creek areas, and I see it just looks like a big, about 2 or 3 foot tall bundle of hair. Couldn't make out, I guess you can make out short legs, couldn't make out the arms, but it just looked like a big furry thing just squat down. And I was like, damn, I was video recording it. I was recording it at the time. I don't know if I got it on video or not, but it was interesting. It just kind of crouched down and looked like a bush. And as I spent the night, we of course went and investigated with his friend David, and then we came back and went to bed. Well, that night it was cold. It was supposed to be in the 40s, but it dropped down into the teens, I think, during the night sometime. It was severely cold. I went up to go use Joe's restrooms, and as I kind of sat up, I hear ooh ooh ooh. I can't even make the noise. It was just a really off. It wasn't an owl sound. It was just a really like a panicky sound. Not a whoop, but just more like a like something was alerting something else that, hey, he's up. And so I didn't turn the light on in the tent or anything. I was basically just, I think I had a headlight on actually, but I quietly got up, went outside the tent, went to his little porta potty that he has, and was sitting there doing my business, and those noises continued. I could hear something move around, but I couldn't see anything. It was too dark. and Advantage Bigfoot. It wasn't a deer. I've heard people say, I've started to listen through different deer noises and stuff, just so I can familiarize myself with that as well. But this was strange. So I went back in and I was freezing my yin yangs off. My sleeping bag only went down to about 20, and it was still cold. I was jeans, 2 pairs of socks, and a heavy duty coat with a hood up, and then I had a face guard up over my face, and I was still freezing. It was miserable. So when I got up, it was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Shortly thereafter, I was almost actually asleep, and I put my cot right next to the back of the tent, and it's an igloo kind of shape, and it's a 10-person tent, so it was massive. I had tons of room in there. I could have had 5 or 6 other people comfortably in the tent with me. I had a table set up and all kinds of other stuff. If you watch that video of Joe's camp, you'll see his puppies come in and hang out with me, and he does not let them out after dark. They stay inside with him because his dogs disappear. He's had dogs disappear out there. Anywho, another Bigfoot report. So as I'm almost asleep, I feel something push in the side of the tent and touch me. And I didn't move. I think I froze. Literally I'm like, oh crap. And then it happened again. And then, above me kind of pushed in a little bit. And then I kind of started to get up, and it stopped. I didn't hear anything move away from me. I didn't hear anything like that. Probably about 3 or 4 feet up on the tent, was pushing in to see what was going on. So then the next morning I got up, looked for prints, couldn't find anything, because it's kind of hard sandy soil at this point. He gets a lot of rain up there. They get crap ton of rain. But as I'm sitting here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. So as I was laying there, I basically got up the next morning, tried to warm up, and basically went into town. I got some more supplies. I got makings for peanut butter PB&J sandwich, Oreos, Chips Ahoy, and all kinds of things. Apples, grapes that David had told me, and I went out and put those all throughout the area. I left some apples, some full apples, not cut up, in places where they had made tree bends, and unfortunately, I got skunked. They didn't take any of the apples. In fact, they didn't take any of the offerings I left, which kind of sucked. I did leave them there. I left a bottle of water sitting on one of the tree stumps. I left corn, a whole pile of corn. I left the food, which I'm pretty sure, hopefully, the dogs didn't eat it. It was just full of sweets, Oreos, and all that stuff. That was on another stump, and then apples and some more corn on another stump. And then, of course, I had 20. No. I only had 10 trail cams up around where I was sleeping. And whatever came in and pushed on the tent didn't get caught. But one of the other trail cams, and it's not the greatest video, picks up something. Basically, all of a sudden, there's this, it's not very big, maybe 4 or 5 feet tall, shorter than me, and about my build, shows up in the middle of one of the videos. And the videos are about 14 seconds long. It's not there in the first video. It's there in the next video and then gone in the next one. So, I mean, that thing resets in a second. So for it to be gone that quickly, it just makes me scratch my head. And, I've shown people the video, and I told them, this is not the greatest video, but you can see there's something, nothing there, then there's something there, then there's nothing there. And it's just brown and it looks hairy. So I possibly caught a juvenile on camera, on trail cam. That's happened several times up at Joe's camp. I think we have 3 videos from Joe's camp that all came from trail camps. All right, that said, so I decided to go over into his bamboo forest, which is on the front left corner of his property and goes about halfway up towards the cemetery on the left-hand side of his property. I walk in there, and there's a pretty wide opening. I'm 6'2", 300 pounds, so I'm not a small guy, and I could walk comfortably through it. I was looking for prints on the ground, didn't see anything. As I got in there, there's just bamboo like snapped over. Some of it a couple of feet high, some of it was 7-8 feet in the air. It snapped, and it's green. It's not brown. It's not dead. It was alive when it was snapped off. Bamboo is one of the hardest woods in the world. So being able to snap, and this wasn't small. It was 3 or 4 inch diameter. Some of it was a little bit bigger. Being able to snap that off, and then also some of it was actually bent over, kind of like a tree structure. And there was tree structures too. There was trees basically leaned up, pieces of bamboo leaned up against other pieces of bamboo, making like a teepee-like form in there. And this is only in the first 10 feet. It was like I walked into an area, it was like a wide open area, and there's bamboo in between, but most of it was had been cleared. And so as I'm standing there, I'm kind of looking around. All of a sudden, I hear a tree knock, and I don't know where it came from. It was close. It was within about 10 feet of me, and it wasn't super loud, but it was loud. It got my attention. And I'm like, oh, you can watch the video of it. I think it got caught on video. So as I'm walking further up and through his bamboo tree grove and getting back into the regular forest, I'm noticing that every path, and there's a lot of game paths up through there. Every path there is, and there must have been 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 of them, is blocked with some kind of obstacle. One had a tree down. Other one had some kind of bamboo like pulled through. Another one had a vine like woven through another piece of brush. And then it was just like everything was blocked. It was either you had to duck to go under it, or you had to step over it, or you couldn't go through it all. And it was just interesting that they do that. They block off paths where they don't want you to go, but yet they can probably go through there real easy. So, and there's just paths that lead back up again to the top of the cemetery, which then goes through where if you go to the left on the edge of his property, it goes across into where and this is the very top of his property, top left corner, if you're looking at it straight on. And that's where the cemetery is. And then where the cemetery is, there's a line of trees. And then basically there's the telephone pole area. Now, that telephone pole area, which is weird, has not been cleared. That stuff's taller than me. I'm 6'2", but yet there's a path through to the other forested area where, again, nobody's been up there for almost 200 years. And Joe says everybody's afraid to go up into there. They're afraid of what's up there. So one of these days, anyways, so I'm still working on getting permission from his family to be able to go up into that area because they own it. They own that area. There's a couple downed old. There's an old farmhouse up there. There's actually still the remnants of a farm. And then as you keep going, there's another house that's basically dilapidated and falling. It's just caved in. It's completely fallen apart. I don't know if Bigfoots would go in there and hang out or not. It's shelter, but who knows? But anyways, yeah, I'd like to go up into that area. Joe has told me about other things that he's seen in that area, alien type creatures, and he's shown me videos of things that just has me scratching my head. I can't explain it. So anyways, I wanted to wrap up that with Joe's camp. I think his location is probably my favorite, just because you go up there and you don't have to go anywhere. You're already on Bigfoot territory. I mean, you have a 50-50 chance of possibly experiencing something Bigfoot related. And then a whole area. I mean, the year before that, in 2021, we found those 24-inch footprints that led, one after another with about an 8 or 10 foot gape. And it led up to a structure. And then we found the catfish head that was probably, at least 7 or 8 inches wide with the teeth marks into the side of the skull, which was crazy. And then another structure about 30 feet away downhill. And then we found clams that had been basically ripped open and the meat eaten out of the inside. So, future plans, trying to get back up to Joe's camp again and go explore his area. I want to focus in on certain areas. He's doing a lot of research for us. And so maybe we'll do an expedition to Joe's camp if he'll let us, or somewhere around his area. Maybe there's a campsite we can go rent and have you guys come out with us, and maybe we experience something Bigfoot related. Hopefully, maybe we won't. We'll see. But that's future plans. Also, I'm trying to put together an ultralight backpacking kit. So I'm going to be reviewing several products, probably both on the survival channel and on here, because my plan is to take a weekend and just explore certain areas, put my backpack on, and then just hike into different areas. That'll be coming probably in the next 3 or 4 months, when it's warm enough to actually camp overnight. Because sometimes, I mean, especially over by Joe's, the temperatures just fall into the teens and 20s, and it's not fun. Even if you have a heavy duty, with the lightweight stuff, the ultralight backpacking, the whole theory or the whole idea is to pack your kit with what you need, but keep it as light as possible, between 10 and 30 pounds, I think. I mean, 30 is on the top end of that. But I've seen a lot of guys that have kits that only weigh 13 pounds, 14 pounds. And that's what I'm trying to put together, is a kit that I can go basically from point A, go check this area out, maybe spend the night there, and then continue to walk through and see if I can experience anything. And as I do, I'm going to GPS it for future, investigations. So that's my plan. I don't know if Amanda's going to want to come with me or not. Hopefully she will. But I have a lot of other people that want to do that with me as well. So yeah, that's coming in the future. Like I said, we got a new drone. I'll be doing a review on that, and I'm going to be reviewing a lot of this camping gear, so you guys can say, "Oh, that's cool," or "No, that's a piece of junk." I'll let you guys know. We got, like I said, I got a hammock, I got a cheap cooking set, because basically I might probably just use it for boiling water more than likely. And then, of course, the lightweight cooking camping gear, and stuff like that. So I'll be reviewing a lot of different gear for you guys to see here in the future, and go from there. So, all right, guys, thanks for letting me talk your ear off. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on about 60 different platforms for the audio podcast. If you're listening there, please like and subscribe to whatever, so you don't miss anything. If you're on our YouTube channel, please click that notification bell. I try and put out new content every 3 to 5 days. So we have 3 or 4 videos going up every week. That's the goal, at least. I apologize for the lack of podcasts. I'm just now starting to get over the stupid flu. I'm basically better now. I mean, I've been getting over it for the last month. It's just kicked my, backside, if you will, and it just won't let go. So, anyways, that was my 2022 in review. I know I talked about a few places, but we really focused on the Sam Houston National Forest, Joe's Camp, and a few other places. Just to throw this in, we went to, what is it called? Bastrop. Bastrop was another location. where I was experiencing possible juvenile Bigfoots. You can watch those videos on our YouTube channel. At one point, I did see, well, I think I saw one on every time I went down there. And they're, like I said, they're possibly juveniles, or they're just a smaller version of Bigfoot. They're like my height and build, 6 to 7 feet tall, maybe 200 to 300 pounds. They're tall and skinny. And so, yeah, I mean, lots of videos on that. We found prints down there, possibly saw one up in a tree. So who knows? Bastrop needs more research. I think I need to find more reports in and around there. People say, well, why would they be in the middle of in a little tiny forest in the middle of a city? Well, maybe they got stranded there. Who knows? But they have the Colorado River there, and then the other side of where we go explore, it's basically open. It's just forest. There's not much on the other side, not much human inhabitants. So, again, that really needs more exploration, more research, and maybe trying to find more information. Bastrop is known for its paranormal activity. You've got ghosts down there, you've got UFO sightings, and then now you've got, well, they said it was Slender Man, but it wasn't. I'm pretty sure what people were seeing in the forested area along the hiking trails down there in the camping areas was Bigfoots, juvenile Bigfoots. So I'll leave that with you guys. Again, thank you guys so much for all the new listeners. 2023 is going to be an awesome year. Man and I are going to be doing so many different things. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but we've set up Deepwoods Productions so that we can use that to further our research, hopefully get into new places, hopefully be able to do different things. But we're also going to be doing a lot of other videos that are not paranormal, lifestyle, and other things we're going to be doing over on the Deepwoods Productions page. If you want to go over there, we're going to try and be creating our own shows. We might be doing some travel vlogs. We might be doing some, like I said, we'll be doing lifestyle videos. We're going to be doing all kinds of different things. We might be doing animal videos, following us on our rescue of different animals and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing. We got a lot of different content that we're going to be putting out, not just paranormal, but this channel focus always, of course, will be paranormal. And like I said, we have the survival channel, or whatever you want to call it, over, basically we'll all be on there. We're going to be doing shows. I'm going to be basically going out into different locations, probably while I'm doing Bigfoot research, and I'll be shooting some survival situations as well and putting it on there. How to light a fire with a ferro rod, or I might even get the old stick rubbing a try and seeing if I can get fire that way, and then probably reviewing different parts of gear, more in definition than I am on this, or not definition, more in detail, excuse me. All right, guys. So again, thank you guys for watching and listening. We really appreciate your support. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, the link's down below, both on our YouTube channel and also on our podcasts. So again, I can't say how much we appreciate you, and hopefully we might see you on an expedition or a ghost hunt, or maybe we'll meet you in person somewhere in town, or over in the at one of the first Fridays in downtown Bryan. All right, guys. Thank you guys again. We appreciate you, and you have a great 2023.